afternoon and welcome everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. If you're watching this, you know I'm in Pensacola, but we wanted to give you live content even though I'm over there speaking to the Seminole Club of Pensacola. Look forward to it. By the way, if you're watching this and you're going to be at that event tonight, make sure we get to say hello, and I look forward to talking to that group. I'm Jeff, that's Tom. On Twitter, it's at J Cameron Show. We're driving about town here in Tallahassee. Thanks for listening on 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV, the Heisen Legal Law Firm chat. You know that deal. Tom, I probably should have pulled up the chat read. I kind of have it memorized. Offices, it's free consultation. If you're ever in an accident, they don't get paid unless you win. They're the name for justice. You know all that, guys.
It's all good because this is going to be a comment section, not a live chat today. So I'm posting the show in on-demand fashion. So there is no live chat, it's just a comment section. So hello to everybody in the comments. And usually the person who's a little miffed by that is James B. But James B, I think will allow for this one because, you'll be at a live event in just a few hours, James.
And I'll see James B, and we will have ourselves a beer and talk some Seminole football. It'll be fun. I actually am looking forward to that for a lot of reasons. I did this event a couple years ago with Corey, and we had fun there. Get to see DC Reeves, former managing editor of Warchant.com, current mayor of Pensacola, amongst many others. And the great Ed Lemix will be there, I'm hoping too, right? So that'll be good. We'll get plenty of people that have aided our endeavors over the years. I don't want to leave anybody out. But people that have aided our endeavors on Warchant and the Jeff Cameron Show, et cetera, and all the different things that we do. There's a lot of them in Pensacola, which is great. You know what by the way, Tom, before we get into Florida State, you know what I was looking at before I joined you? I saw because somebody yesterday in the chat asked us if we could post the pictures of Doak again. You know how you post pictures of Doak every time we're in there?
I used to, but now we have all that practice footage, so yeah.
Yeah, and somebody wanted to kind of during one of the breaks, I think it was Noel Dad, wanted to see what that looked like and how far along they've come. And hey, by the way, have you gone over to the practice field since you've been back in town to see the other practice field that's totally ripped up and that they're working on?
No, but I will be seeing practice Monday and Tuesday, so I intend to see it very, very soon. They're obviously in Jacksonville today, and then they're off tomorrow. They have a scrimmage Saturday morning. They're doing it a morning scrimmage, which is good for the body clock, for the time change, and then they're off on Sunday again. So Monday, Tuesday, I'll see what you're talking about.
Well, the only reason I bring it up is there's just all that construction. And I had a conversation with a neighbor the other day about all that they've done over there, and he knows that I go over to practice, and he was saying, have you gone by and looked in the stadium? And I said, lately we're not even allowed to kind of park in the same areas that we've parked in the past, so you don't get to look into Doak like we did for the spring. How when you and I looked in there and you couldn't believe it was, that whole side was ripped out and you're just looking out there. It was weird to see.
It was nuts.
Well, we don't get to park there now anymore. We park by the baseball field out in left field, and there is this one area where you go in that back gate of the baseball stadium, and you have this little sidewalk that is between the baseball stadium and the practice field. It's a skinny little walkway, and that's the only area we're allowed to be in other than when we go to the third floor of Doak during practice. And so we don't really get to see all that. What I am seeing is that whole area where the football only facility is going to be built. And that is like all of that second practice field that they had forever is completely ripped out and all that. Well, I was talking to somebody about what all is going to be in that thing and what it's going to look like. And then I got curious again about Doak and what that's going to look like for games. So I went online this morning, got up early as we're wont to do, and sitting here sipping a cup of coffee. And I was reading about other stadium construction plans because, SMU is adding seats to their stadium as well. When we go play there, that will be interesting. I think they've added 10 to 15,000 is the plan there. So that's Doak right now.
That is Doak as of this morning at 7:30. So you can see that the lower part of that alumni side, they're dropping seats in there. This is the temporary seating. Frankly, dude, I thought those were going to be more like high school grandstands, but those don't look half bad from an aesthetic standpoint, because the cameras for all of the broadcasts, beginning with Boston College, are going to be panning to that. That is an eyesore, but it's not as bad. I thought it was going to be a hole. I thought it was going to be a hole on the side of the stadium. That actually will do a decent job of capturing the noise of the people in the stands too, for the acoustics and the home field.
Yeah, that's all I really care about. Yeah, by the way, that picture for those driving around listening to the show, what I have is the upper deck of Doak, if you will, the upper from about the midpoint up, still the old seats, right? And then the new seats are the ones below that, and in the middle section is just torn out.
So no, actually,
it's the opposite.
Well, no, it looks like the old seating, but
yeah.
But so there was a giant hole there.
Yes, there was.
Higher alumni side. What was replaced, I think, is the foundation for where the new seats are going to go in. But it's just slabs of concrete where those seats are going to be installed. So it kind of looks like it used to, because all that was a bunch of metal bleachers. It was just a bunch of metal bleachers over there. So just, again, the color looks the same. But yes, the very bottom closest to the field on the alumni side looks like it's having proper seating put in. But as I understand it, they had to take out everything. It's almost like if you're playing Trivial Pursuit and you take out a few slices of the pie, and now you're putting in some foundational slices of that pie, but they're not all the way to the top of your little puzzle piece there. And then they'll lay the seats over it in the fashion that you're going to, with chair backs and the spacing that they're promising you and all that kind of stuff. It's
an engineering marvel when you look at that stuff, like how they balance that, where you have a gutted middle and then you have seats above and below that, and you realize, I mean, it's crazy they didn't have to completely tear the whole thing down and start from scratch. That you could just lower entire groupings of seat segments down from a crane is crazy to me.
Well, and it's like a scene from Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield when he's in the economics class. You got to pay off the Teamsters, and you got to make sure your permits get through. Like, you think about how old that structure was, and we heard for years as Florida State was looking at, what are we going to do next? How are we going to modernize? And it's like, well, a lot of this building was grandfathered in because of old regulations. And, there's obviously what they did with the city of Tallahassee, where they're talking about permitting for access for folks with disabilities. Like, man, just knowing a lot of business owners here in Tallahassee and how sometimes the construction of whatever enterprise they have gets held up. Handshake deals were made to make sure that this place did not have to get, just bulldozed and raised and built from the ground up like you're talking about. They were literally able to extract a piece and build a piece, and I'm sure that the billable hours for that were unreal.
Well, can you imagine the fight for that contract, Tom? My goodness gracious, yes. Oh, we'll be happy to build for you. It'll cost you this much. Yeah,
who knows a little bit about that is later in the show is ISF. They're like, oh, you're talking about government permits?
Yeah, well, we got you.
Let me count the ways of how many government permits you're going to need. Yeah.
I bring all of that up to say this. Duke has introduced plans for what's known as the Devil's Deck at Wallace Wade Stadium. Now, I'm going to give them credit for calling it the Devil's Deck. Well done. Well done, Duke. A little edgy for them. That's nice. It's embraced. There's a lot you could do with that. That's a lot of fun. But this is what you get if you buy the tickets. They're $45 in advance, $35 for students. That's it. If you want to be on the Devil's Deck. Now, I know you're laughing, and I'm laughing too. To be able to sit on the Devil's Deck, you pay that $45 and you can get all you can eat food and non-alcoholic drinks.
Okay.
Exclusive access to open standing areas. I just had to read this to you because there's anything better than, hey guys, pay $45 for no booze and you get to stand. Awesome. No, sign me up to be on the Devil's Deck.
That's not even close to the Devil's Deck. The Devil's Deck should be, there's a few kegs, it's $20, but you can only see 30 yards of the field.
Yeah.
You got to make your deal with the devil. That's the whole thing. There's got to be, that's dumb.
Well, hold on.
What, is there a booze option? Is there a cash bar available?
There is, because I read more after I saw that. I went, well, who's signing up for this nonsense? It's like, what are we doing here? I got to pay to go sit on a deck that's away from the good seats, and all I can do is stand, and I can eat. That's great. I can eat.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm telling you, man, this is something that I feel like the Dodgers might have started it in Major League Baseball. Like,
where you do the gluttonous nonsense where you've seen some of these fat asses in America go out to the ballparks and feed their family of 15, all of them are 350 plus pounds, eating churros to the seventh inning, all they can eat.
well, they could be 75 pounds apiece, and for a family of 15, I can kind of understand that. That's pretty cost effective, I suppose. You still have to buy a ticket for every one of them. But all you can eat anything is woefully overrated. It's woefully overrated.
Because you can only eat so much.
Well, if you're reasonable, yes. And like I personally might have an entree. And by an entree in a stadium, I mean chicken fingers or a burger or a hot dog.
Yeah.
And then maybe a snack, popcorn or a pretzel. But I'm not going to have 6 things during a game. I'll just eat at the tailgate. The all you can imbibe, if that's your way of life, seats are the value. The all you can eat is a total farce.
Yeah, it is an overrated function. You're right. The all you can drink is the best part, especially if you didn't drive and you don't have to drive. You're like, okay, we're going to have a good day out here.
Even if it's premium food, and let's say it is in the Lang Memorial Champions Club, which I hear sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. But like, let's just say it's a good day at the Lang Memorial. Okay, a couple of bacon-wrapped shrimp, maybe a crab cake if I'm feeling adventurous, but I don't even know that I trust the stadium company to give me a good crab cake.
No.
Like, what other hors d'oeuvres are there that you would sign up for and say, this is $75 worth of value? They're giving it away. Like, I can't go there.
So you have access to beer and seltzer.
Oh.
Here's the thing that I would tell you.
No spirits, I see.
This is where it's ruined. Well, besides the fact that I'm standing the whole time. They have an in-game DJ when you're on the Devil's deck.
Oh, God.
Those poor people at Duke are about to experience what we've all had to experience in stadiums all over the country now, which is the lack of an attention span from the vast majority of dumbasses who live in this place. It's unbelievable the constant entertainment that's necessary for people, the sound that has to wash over them at all times for fear they may have to think about something for 5 seconds. It is the worst. You can't just go to a game and enjoy the game. You've got to hear dun, 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 over and over and over between plays like you're a child. It's ridiculous. And now those fine folks at Duke are going to be inundated with that wash of sound. Think of the people, the old timers that have been going to watch sorry Duke football forever, having to listen to these a-holes on the Devil's deck, playing yard games, standing, listening to a DJ for 3 hours. That's the worst.
Yeah, the guy's name is Vern, and he's got the same jacket he bought in 1974 when he was a student there. He will be miffed by this. Also, consider your audience, Duke. Maybe instead of a DJ, you have an advanced statistics lecture going on in the breaks. The only DJ that I'd be for would be DJ basketball, and it's Coach K, and he's in a 1990s, Duke. Remember the mascot that they had in the basketball games? He's in the suit. He's got a pencil mustache, and he's the one spitting he's the one spinning the discs. That would be the guy that would be my DJ. Otherwise, that sounds like an awful experience. In fact, I hope that's not even anywhere close to the stadium at all.
Well, it's in the stadium. It's on top of the stadium. It's like they're building a deck on top of another area just to add this.
That should be at atop a campus building that overlooks the stadium. That is not proper for the
across the street like at Wrigley. The thing is, I got to imagine that we're all screwed now. If you're going to have in-game DJs at Duke, well, we're done. We're done.
Well, they have that at Doak. They don't call it the DJ like they do down at Miami, but think about how often you hear the marching chiefs versus how often you hear something that you would hear at Madison Square Garden or a Miami game.
The studies have had to have been done, and you go to any pro arena now, there isn't a moment of silence. When Bryce and I went down to Miami and saw the Heat play the Clippers, I took note of the fact that there were very, very few, incredibly infrequent moments where you were allowed to kind of just be and sort of think about the game situation or what you would do here or any of that stuff, because it's all of that is drowned out by constant distraction of people running onto the court. It's not just firing T-shirts. It's a giveaway. It is, hey, now we turn – well, they do it at the Lightning games with that fat chick that's the DJ. That they all, what I don't remember her name, but anyhow, they always spin that. I know that was incredibly inappropriate, but that's that. It's the worst. They're like, hey, it's DJ whatever, and I'm like, come on, man, don't do this, Tampa Bay. You're better than this.
Yeah, the Giants did that out in San Francisco. I was at 2 games, and
what?
Both of them had a DJ. It's DJ Umami. It's like, everybody, it's DJ Umami's turn. It's like,
no.
Give me an organ. And I'm young. I'm young.
So I think the Braves still just do the organ, don't they?
And so does Wrigley.
Bless their heart. All of the stadiums that hold on to just the organ, there you go.
Well,
You're my kind of stadium.
You saw what the Mets do. They've got a breakdancing team.
Oh, well, I knew that was happening. We were in Queens, Tom. There was no chance we were going to have a chance to avoid
that. They're sticking close to their audience.
I mean, when we walked in, I was like, okay, it's going to be a different experience. And I loved it. It's a great stadium. It's in the middle of nowhere. I don't know what they're doing around that stadium. They need to build some things, like things to do. It's just nuts.
They're like, well, there's Arthur Ashe and there's the World's Fair. Yes, they've been there for 50 years and nothing.
I've been by Flushing Meadows. I've seen the U.S. Open tennis courts. The last time I was there, way back when. I mean, I don't understand it. Like, build something for people to see and do.
Yeah, the other thing is, and you know that this is a pet peeve of yours. I know that this is a pet peeve of yours as well. I think if it's 4th and goal from the 6th in the 4th, or from the 6-yard line in the 4th quarter,
people know to get loud.
I think I know I need to get up out of my seat and be loud. You know, Noles fans, let them know.
Yeah.
Man, it's a 2-point game, or sorry, a 4-point game. There's 26 seconds to go. It's 4th and goal from the 6. I don't need your ass telling me to get out of my chair. Will you pipe down, please?
Well, at least they'll have the exclusive access to open standing areas. No, I'm serious. Like, I get, if I'm listening to this driving down the road, I'm like, man, these guys sound like they're old. It's not true, guys. Here's the deal. When you complain, if you're over the age of 30 and you complain about something that you think is a nuisance or is an annoyance of any kind, everybody likes to then say you're the guy screaming at the clouds making a fist, or that you're antiquated and yet you don't understand today's. No, some things can be complained about, whether you're 15, 30, 45, 80, and be true. There's no reason, no effing reason whatsoever to constantly inundate people with sound and flashing lights and look over here instructions on the scoreboard as if you're just dumbass lemmings who can't figure it out for yourself. It's the worst.
Right. Now, look, I understand that you got to make money. So if you want to throw it down to Rob Wilson and he has the Whataburger trivia question of the day, and you want to throw it down to Rob in the next break, and he's got, like, guess this Noel in history. Like, look, man, I'm serious about that. I'm not even kidding. Like,
no, it's fine. Guess this Noel in history is hardly invasive.
No, throw it down to Rob and let him sell some things, and let's make some money as a program. We need that because that's going to add up and you get better players. Like, that's fine. But I don't need to hear, tonight's Diplo night at Doak Campbell Stadium. Like, come on, man. And I'm telling you, look in the stands. How many people are up out of their seat and dancing as though like a classic song was playing? The kids are too drunk to even move in the student section. So who are you doing it for? Who are you really doing it for is my question.
It started with basketball. I feel like that's the first time where in the arenas that you went to, whether they were college basketball games or pro basketball games, where somehow this idea of introducing a DJ during because basketball has a problem inherent to the game, which is the last 2 minutes of any basketball game takes an hour and a half.
Yep.
And there's going to be 16 timeouts and reviews in between the ending of that game, whatever that possession is that ends that game, and the actual clock striking 0. It's going to take an hour. There's going to be, look, we saw the defensive look, timeouts, and then they're going to come back over. We're going to call another one. And then there's going to be some sort of review on a ball that's tipped, or who did it go out on, or was that goaltending? We're going to be here for a while. So I think somewhere along the way, people got antsy, like, what do we do? What do we do? There's a lot of nothing happening here. And I knew that it was a matter of time before that started to bleed over into other sports. And now it's the ruination of the live event.
You've got hundreds of band members who are here on scholarship. Let them do their job. They're
Let
awesome.
them play. Let them play.
While we're at it, the last thing, love you, Ryan, WCTV.
He's awesome at that, by the way.
He is. Give us the highlights of what happened, but we can drop the charade of here's what's going on nationally right now. No, man, it's always dated information. And if we ever bother to have Wi-Fi in the stadium, people will be more up to date than those updates. You might as well just give us like the best 3 plays of the day and then what our rivals did that day.
So that's something that I think, on a serious note, we talk about the amenities, we talk about the game day experience. Like, there's a lot of angst surrounding all of the changes at Doak right now and what happened with who is able to obviously hold on to their seats and boxes and all of that. And we know we've all spoken to people in the community, both in the business community, but also the citizens who have been season ticket holders or graduates or business partners, whatever it might be. There's a lot of frustration there. There are plenty of people who understand that Florida State needed to upgrade in a lot of ways. They certainly had to modernize that stadium. There's no getting around that. And they had to make price points that was going to allow them to be competitive with those that they seek to be competitive with. And I'm talking about the Georgias, Alabamas, Floridas, Miami, whomever, right, that you're competing with. So they had to do a lot of these things. We can quibble, and everybody has, with the way they went about it, how they addressed it, the manner with which they offered these packages to people, whatever it might be that you're upset about. But one thing's for certain, if you're going to go through the trouble of alienating a percentage of your fan base forever while welcoming in a new segment to the fan base, to the populace there, you better be damn sure, I should say, that the next time we step foot in there, when it's completed, this is a hodgepodge effort this year. I'm talking about when this thing is done.
Yeah.
I better never again be in a situation where the scores that roll on that scoreboard, that Jumbotron, are dated by 6 hours. Like, I don't ever again want to look up and say, 7-7 Duke Clemson in the first, huh? Yeah, the final was 48-7 and the game ended 3 hours ago. Like, that better not be because that happens every Saturday at Doak. And Ryan has to give these updates like you're talking about. And that's a whole separate deal. That's not his fault. It's whatever.
No. And I want to be clear on that. He's an ESPN alum. He's from the family.
Yeah.
That is a format that he must execute. And to your point, he does it very well.
Yeah,
I'm just saying we're highlight driven at this point. Give us the scores that are over and then the best 3 plays of the day, maybe the best 3 that appeared on CBS so you have the rights to it, whatever it is. That's very simple. Instead of this, here's your up to the date. No, man, it ain't up to date.
It's not up to date. And I don't think that's I've never understood this. Corey and I have been on a campaign, and you and I to some degree have been too, for various aspects of this viewing experience. Obviously I wanted to repaint the scoreboard. They did, and all that. Tom Lang Memorial, all that. Corey has bitched for years that the stats in baseball, for example, were never accurate and ridiculous. We never got to see anything about a player. They got a little better this year with that. These are all things that are seemingly, standard almost everywhere else. So that can't happen, right? You got to be able to, if we're going to modernize everything and have DJs, well, I better be able to check my fantasy football lineup while I'm sitting in the stands and not be troubled by the fact that I can't make a phone call, let alone check the internet, because I'm surrounded by 70,000 people.
Right. And this is the other thing. Monetize it, man. Look, you can have Wi-Fi that you log into that's public. And I hate that I have to say this, because the University of Florida in 2011, when I covered baseball games and football games. So you could talk about overwhelmed cell towers on a Saturday, or you could talk about a tertiary sport like baseball. Their Wi-Fi in those days was infinitely superior to what Florida State has now. We're nearly 15 years later. For God's sake, we got to fix that. If you want to have a regular level, this is like when you're on an airplane. Here's your regular level. You can text, you can call, because nobody can call each other and communicate at Doak. If somebody gets separated, it's basically 1994. It's a bad movie in 1994 where a kid gets lost. Charge $2, $3 for streaming internet. Throw a Battle's End logo on it and say you're supporting the Battle's End. Have that money go there to support. I'm
sure the Battle's End was happy to hear you say that.
You'd get $150,000 a game. People would drop big coin. People would do it so they could watch the other games, so they could live the life that they're used to. The kids with the TikTok, all the students would do it. You would probably get, in a normal year, I get the capacities down this season, out of 80,000 people, like legitimately, 40,000
I agree.
opt in for $3 a game.
I'm going to adopt the phrase "the kids with the TikTok." That's going to be good. I'm going to say it all the time, even when it's not applicable. I'm just going to be like you and I are going to be waiting at a red light together to go play golf, and it's going to take too long. I'll be like, "The kids with the TikTok, right? What are we doing here? This is ridiculous." Hey, when we come back, they practiced yesterday over in Jacksonville. They're practicing right now at the time that we're recording this show for you, so I can drive to Pensacola. And I want to talk about what we do know from practice yesterday. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. All right, we've gotten it off our chest, everybody. We're done complaining about the stadium experience.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that we're done fixing it. I think we're done fixing it for now, but we fixed it. Good job. Nice job.
Well, and we could do this. This is a little bit like uniform talk. You can do this all day. Yeah, actually, we can sit here and talk about all the things because everybody knows this isn't going to be another diatribe. But everybody knows when they've gone through an experience, be it a concert, a game, a festival, a movie, whatever it is, when you've gone through the process and it's been done right. It's so rewarding. Like when you leave, like you and I went to Moon Crush together. That festival does it right.
Oh, man.
The way that's set up, the ease with which you get in and out, the way the chairs are spread out and the sections are parsed, and it's perfect.
Folks, this is not a live read either, although it's only a 2-hour drive. So Andy and the crew over there, if you want us to go to your events and promote them, dude, it is turnkey. That is the thing. And I remember the first time I ever heard that phrase. I know it's an old one, but our old friend Larry from ESPN used the term turnkey. I'm like, man, that is just a clean way of describing what I'm looking for. Turnkey. I just show up and it's awesome. And that should be built into the cost of what I pay. And I think a lot of people these days are especially with what's going on at Doak and the different restructuring of the alumni side, and they want to know, if I'm going to commit to you to stick where I'm close to sitting, and I'm in that conversation, a lot of people dropped out, period. They're like, this is dumb. But if I'm going to stick with you, I need to know that my game day experience is turnkey. Now, what I will say on the positive side is that the construction is going faster than I thought it would. Maybe it's right up to schedule for Doak. Maybe it's right on their plan, right, and they're hitting their marks. I just didn't think it would look this advanced this soon. And I'm glad for that, because I didn't want there to be a giant crater in the side of my favorite football stadium in the world, for this season. But man, it looks okay. I think they're doing it. It looks okay.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's accurate. Hey, by the way, article from Bill Connolly yesterday, may have been this morning that I read it, about the 25 most important players in 2024's college football playoff race. And I just thought, I'll peruse this and see, I know the usual candidates. It starts at number 25, by the way, with Travis Hunter. But then you get into, which is interesting to me because I don't know that he's going to be relevant to the college football playoff race. But anyhow, so you'll go through all of this, and they have, Mason Graham, defensive tackle, Michigan. And then they have spoiler quarterbacks. Well, Haynes King is on that list of spoiler quarterbacks, by the way. And real quick, I'll do that read for you. After a frustrating injury-plagued time at Texas A&M, King was part of a rousing breakthrough at Georgia Tech, throwing for 2,842 yards, rushing for 830, jumping into the total QBR top 30, and leading the Yellow Jackets to their first bowl in 5 years. That's an aside. Let me just point this out. I don't think a lot of people realize he was that productive last year. Those are that top 30 QBR at Georgia Tech with that team and a rebuilding program, and to run for 830 yards and to throw for nearly 3,000. That's a good effing year, Tom.
Yeah, it's the running. That's the number. That one you wouldn't expect, because you knew that they could run the ball as a team, but you'd really have to have watched Georgia Tech to see that the quarterback was involved as much as the quarterback was. And that's where I'm not going to get off topic here, but you just think about what Shaheem Brown's going to need to mean in this game near the line of scrimmage, in addition to Earl Little, in addition to that front four. But I don't want to get the cart before the horse. The productive year was something else, and this is a great first test for Florida State for that reason.
Well, Jamal Haynes is the running back that I interviewed over there in Charlotte, and he had over 1,000 yards rushing too. So the reason they chose him, Haynes King, that is obviously they're looking at games. Top 20 projected SP plus opponents: Florida State, Notre Dame, Miami, and Georgia. So I could see where you would throw a guy like that in there because the same thing goes for Graham Mertz, by the way, Tom. Like, you would have Graham Mertz on this list. Florida has games against a ton of teams that could affect the playoff, right? I mean, look at their ridiculous ass schedule.
Yes, they do. Every week it would seem that Florida has an important game against a very potent opponent that could very well be playing, late into December, early into January. Many of these teams that they're playing could be that good. Florida won't be, but a lot of the teams they're playing will be. And so maybe he can be a spoiler. Absolutely.
Sorry, I got to unmute my mic. The toughest overall Power 4 schedule, Tom, as we well know, is indeed Florida's. The easiest overall Power 4 schedule, by the way, is SMU's.
Okay, well, see, this is why we look at the W's and L's for all these teams. If you were listening to or watching the JCS a month ago, you would know this, that their schedule reminds and calls back to Louisville's of last year. And I'll tell you whose is not too far away from SMU's. I don't know what Bill Connolly says about it, but Miami's schedule is atrocious. It's absolutely atrocious, especially given that Florida is down. Now, if Florida was, what they were 15 years ago, which is relevant, then maybe.
I do give teams a pass when they schedule somebody out of conference from the Power 4 these days, or Power 5 at the time that they scheduled it, and you're playing an in-state pseudo rival. It's not Miami's fault Florida sucks, Tom. It's not Miami's fault that Florida is trying to avoid their 4th straight losing season. That's on Florida. So you give them a pass there, because Miami at least has Florida State and Florida on their schedule, and it's not their fault Florida sucks. By the way, I'm going to say this. I sound like a freaking Florida apologist. I don't think Florida sucks as bad as everybody thinks they do. I don't. And I don't think Graham Mertz sucks all that bad. He was pretty good last year for that team. I actually think that's a pretty good game right out the gates.
It could very well be. But again, I just want to point out, Miami gets credit for scheduling Florida, I guess, even though they should be playing every year. But they're cowards. And they play Florida and Ball State and USF. We routinely have a second game. We play Florida every year. So first of all, you don't impress me very much, Miami, when you have Florida. We play them every effing year. And we have Notre Dame this year. We had LSU last year. We had LSU the year before. We've got Memphis this year. We've also got Alabama to start next year, and Alabama the year after that. So while they do get credit, they don't get as much credit as we do. We are far more brash with how we schedule and who we schedule.
Definitely not trying to compare them to the brass balls that Florida State has in scheduling. I'm not. I'm just noting that they do get credit for scheduling Florida, and for, hey, look, it's Florida's fault they suck, not Miami's fault. By the way, Florida, so let me go through this. It's fun to say this out loud. It's not a bad dream for Billy Napier and the Florida football program. The schedule is, again, brutal as Napier enters a critical 3rd season in Gainesville, with the Gators trying to avoid their 4th straight losing season, which hasn't happened since the 1930s. They play 7 top 20 teams, and 3 of their 4 non-conference games are against Power 4 teams. They face 4 top 15 teams away from home. 3-game stretch of Georgia, Texas on the road, and LSU. It's just the best. Oh, my goodness gracious. It's by the way, they say Georgia Tech. I want to point out Georgia Tech is maybe number 2 on this list of teams that have brutal schedules. The Yellow Jackets obviously open the season with us. Georgia, they play a road game against. And in between, they play 4 ranked opponents, Notre Dame as well in Atlanta. Georgia Tech's got a brutal schedule.
They do. Well, they had one last year too, right? Wasn't that where they had Ole Miss in the first month of the season? And we went through their schedule going, oh, my God. But, hey, they overperformed, and they got a free win when Mario decided not to take a knee. And that might have helped change the course of their program. Who knows? Maybe Brent Key owes it all to the fact that there's no timeouts left. Miami wants to be they want to show that machismo that they always decry, that they're all about. And then you end up beating them with a 0.0% chance and win probability. And maybe that's what flipped it for Georgia Tech. But they've had difficult schedules, certainly much more difficult than Miami over the last long period of time.
Imagine wearing shirts that say that you invented swag as if you're proud of it. That's what Miami does. Their fans will wear those shirts. We invented swag.
That should be like we, as Americans, go over to Paris for the Olympics and say, we invented the light bulb. You know, it's great. That was forever ago. Appreciate you for the light bulb, America. Thanks for that. You're welcome.
By the way, inventing the light bulb is a big deal. Inventing swag makes you an a-hole. There's nothing.
Wearing a shirt that says we invented the light bulb to the Olympics. You know, like,
it's kind of funny.
You did. Okay, wonderful.
Well, given that France embraced jazz and we invented jazz, we should have worn shirts that said, we invented jazz, you're welcome, as we entered the stadium. That would have been good.
Yeah. Miss me with your condescension, because we invented jazz, you fools.
Yeah, that would be great. We invented jazz. The world should still be thanking us. I want to get into the rest of this. I want to get back to the thing I was saying at the beginning here.
And you're able to listen to jazz because we saved your ass not once but twice. Ask me another beignet.
Oh my Lord! It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Conversely, since we were talking about it at the end of the last segment, Rhett Lashley, SMU, they won that AAC title a year ago. Obviously, first conference championship for SMU of any kind since 1984. Schedule is manageable, as they point out. Double-digit wins should be easy to come by. The only top 25 foe is Florida State. That's at home September 28th. In fact, 4 of their first 5 games are at home. They end the season against Pitt, Boston College, Virginia, and Cal. Only Virginia is on the road. Yeeks. Rhett Lashley's cruising on into the ACC, buddy.
It's absurd. I just want to be out of this league. And, you know, the funny part is that before the Big Ten expanded west, it was the same thing as the ACC. It's a 2-game schedule. It's a 1-game schedule. Unless you dipped out of conference, Michigan plays nobody. Ohio State plays nobody except each other. And the Big Ten now is a league where Oregon exists, and USC and UCLA and UW can rise up every once in a while, although they've got 21 out of 22 new starters.
Yeah.
This probably ain't the year. But the super conference thing will add depth. The ACC and the Big Ten have had this issue for a long time, which is somebody's going to get a super easy draw. And SMU has it this year. Louisville had it last year. I believe Miami has an awfully easy draw as well. And we don't, because we always face Clemson and Miami. Now, I understand we'll troll Miami left and right, but a rivalry game is a rivalry game. It's a little bit different. If you were, say, NC State and you played Miami and you hosted them, that's not the same Miami team that shows up for the Florida State game. Or if you went on the road to play at Miami and you were NC State, there's 50 people in the stands, and you're just going to win 37-17 because Miami feels like they're at a practice. But when Florida State plays Miami, the degree of difficulty ratchets up. It's annoying, but here it is. That's when Florida State plays Miami, Clemson, and SMU. I'm going reverse chronological, but you get the point. In those 3 games, you must win 2 of them. You must win 2 of them to get to Charlotte.
Yeah, you're going to have to win 2 of those. I do think it's a crazy fun year in the ACC. Talked about it before. I think there are 5 to 6 teams that are going to be in contention late in the year to try to win the ACC regular season to get to, or to contend, I should say, for the ACC championship in Charlotte. So, yeah, you got to take care of business. It's not an easy schedule for Florida State. It is spaced out the way that you would like it if you had to play this schedule. So, hopefully health is where it needs to be. It hasn't been for some time now for us. So, let's hope that this team stays healthy. Even without it last year, the team went 13-0. So they navigated those waters. On to the last thing I was going to say about this list of things and players. Florida State doesn't have a single player on that list, according to Bill Connolly. And I'm surprised not to see DJ on that list in terms of a quarterback, a transfer, a guy who's got real upside, but also has never fulfilled what he was supposed to be as a 5-star coming out of high school, right? If Florida State were to get that out of him, if he suddenly became that guy, I think it would have a huge impact on the college football playoff landscape. And for that reason, I would have included that.
So, and this is just to clarify, this is top 50 players overall, top 50 players who can make a splash. Like, what was the qualifier?
No, it was the article is entitled "The College Football." Well, hold on a second. Let me go back here. I'll tell you what it's entitled. It's the 25 most important players to the 2024 college football race.
Oh, well, no, yeah, you're right. If it's about importance to the race, yeah,
yes.
DJ's performance has a direct impact on the playoff, impact on the playoff.
Absolutely, it does. I mean, I went through the list of players that he's got listed here and the reasons given, and as usual, Connolly does a good job. He's thorough. I mean, these aren't willy-nilly. He'll look at like Alabama's center. He'll look at the defensive tackle, Jamari Caldwell, the kid at Oregon. He knows. I mean, they're playing a Big Ten schedule. They're the second best team in the Big Ten. They got a chance to win the Big Ten. They're going to be better than Michigan. They're the only team that they would be listed behind at this point is Ohio State. So he's an important player because he's a first-round draft pick and he plays great. It changes the dynamic. Like, I get it. I'm just surprised not to see DJ on this list. And I don't need him to be. I don't care if he's on this list or not. I just think it stands to reason that if he has a great year, that will change the impact on the college football race.
Well, the number one thing that he needs to do with his arm, for me, deep ball accuracy. We documented it after the Clemson game last year when the sample size was large enough that Jordan Travis' deep ball accuracy was diminished. And that throw that was his hallmark in the early part of his career, which was completing the deep shot outside
down the sideline, drop over the shoulder in a bucket,
outside the numbers, always. That was the throw he had before he was a good quarterback.
That's correct.
And then he didn't have it last year. And they had opportunities. They had islands to be able to deliver these balls. And at times they worked. But I can count on, maybe two hands at most. But there was a shot against Syracuse where Keon Coleman gets hit in stride and he's going towards the student section. Like, you don't have a ton of these where I'm talking about a go. I'm not even talking about the overtime throw at Clemson. That was a huge part of the offense with the rail route and other routes the year prior. DJ, to me, just the way I'm reading the practice reports and maybe some of the conversations I have with you guys, he can lay it in there now. I'm talking with the deep shots. He can lay the ball in there. And it's not just about throw it as far as you can and let a guy run under it like he's Joey Galloway in 2007. There's got to be a dynamic to how you deliver that pass. There's an art to it. And it seems like to me, based upon what I've heard, is he's quite adept at that, which fits what we are, especially if we can generate the run, which means play action shots over the top.
It's the best throw he makes every day. And it's very rare that you see it where you think, oh, man, that's terrible. Like I can count on 2 fingers the amount of times where I've gone, ooh, come on, DJ, he's wide open. Most of the time you watch it, that flick of a wrist, 55, 65 yards in the air, and you go, whew, that belongs in the Louvre. That is gorgeous. And then the throws you worry about are the inconsistencies in the mid-range throw, the 15 to 25 yard throw. He has days where he hits that throw consistently in the middle of the field down the seam, and you feel very good about it. And he has days where there's either a timing problem or he's behind or high or low. He's fine on the throws to the perimeter in the quick game, but he's not great at consistently delivering the ball if he has to come off a platform. So you can see why DJ has had really good moments as a college football quarterback, and you can see why he's also had games where you scratch your head. You can see it. It's all there.
You almost feel better about the bench route 8 yards to the far side of the field than you do an in-breaking route at 10 yards.
Yes.
Right in front of him.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, it's all on display. It's been on film. We've all watched it. It's like, okay, there it is. Oh, man, got to hit that throw. And the next thing you know, he's hitting somebody 65 yards downfield, and it's just perfect touch. And you go, oh, well, how many guys have that? So we still got to comment on the practices and from yesterday, and they're practicing right now. Hour number 2, forthcoming. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.